Let's talk about standard terminal arrivals, also called stars, to make your IFR arrivals a bit less complex and certainly more efficient. Stars are very similar to SIDS, except they are an arrival procedure rather than a departure procedure. So requirements such as being assigned by ATC, accepted by the pilot, equipment, and flight planning are the same. For example, ATC can assign you a star unless you have indicated no star in your flight plan. Of course, you can always refuse a star if you get one in your clearance, but the system works far better if ATC knows ahead of time that you don't want to fly a star. Also, you'll need to have the charted star procedure in front of you in an app like ForeFlight or Garmin Pilot, or even on paper, because they can be complex. Also, like SIDS, stars can be based on VORs or RNAV systems. If a star is based on RNAV, it will say RNAV in parentheses in the procedure title, and you'll need RNAV equipment like an IFR-approved GPS to fly the procedure, because if you're flying a star based on RNAV, you'll need to be able to recall the procedure by name from the database, because you cannot build a procedure by using individual waypoints. Now let's consider this scenario. Say you're currently at flight level 180 flying your jet into Dallas-Fort Worth DFW coming in from San Antonio. ATC has assigned you the Glen Rose 1 arrival along the San Antonio transition. Let's see what the route would look like. From the San Antonio VORTAC, you would fly outbound on the 359-degree radial to Jumbo intersection, then inbound on the 197-degree radial of the Glen Rose VORTAC. For this scenario, winds are out of the south, so you'll be landing at DFW to the south. So let's explore some details on this star by looking at the route after arriving at the Glen Rose VORTAC. Look down at this note. It says for turbojets, remember you're flying your jet, landing to the south, and then the note describes your route in detail. Now looking back up in the plan view and following that note, the route in that note, you'll fly to Bouve intersection, then to Curly intersection, then cross Moe intersection at 250 knots according to the note, and then cross Del Mo intersection at 220 knots. And finally, you'll depart Del Mo on a heading of 355 degrees and expect radar vectors. So your route and speed requirements are clearly stated. But what about your altitude? Let's cover some possibilities. Say you're still at flight level 180 when ATC instructs you to cross Isabel at and maintain 1000. When do you start your descent? You want to have a clear understanding of when you're authorized to descend when you're flying a star. Descending on a star requires specific ATC approval. You do not change altitude until given a clearance by ATC, and this can be handled in different ways. When a controller gives you a crossing restriction, you do not have to change your altitude right away. You may descend at your discretion so long as you comply with the altitude restriction. So to follow ATC's instruction to cross Isabel at 1000, you'll start descending as you need to cross Isabel at 11,000, but when you start your descent is up to you as pilot in command. Now let's see how the FAA helps you in anticipating altitudes on stars. This is the Stella 1 arrival to Bradley Airport in Windsor Locks, Connecticut. Let's suppose you're currently at flight level 230. If you were flying this star on a transition that includes Swede intersection, you'll notice that there's some altitude information here. It says at Swede, expect, and then FL230 with a line over it. That means you can expect to cross Swede at or below flight level 230. But if you were flying this star from Albany instead, you'll see here that it says expect and 15,000 with lines above and below it. This means the 15,000 feet is a mandatory altitude. So expect to cross Albany at 15,000 feet, not above or below it. Now this information is for descent planning, but you do not descend from your assigned altitude until ATC issues you a descent clearance like cross Albany at and maintain 15,000 or cross Swede at or below flight level 230 and maintain flight level 210. However, if you think you'll have a problem meeting an upcoming crossing restriction, don't hesitate to ask ATC for a lower altitude in order to comply with an upcoming altitude restriction.